Hello everyone and welcome to the Neptune DXP Developer eLearning course. It's great to have you here to begin to learn how to utilize the low-code Neptune digital experience platform to rapidly develop responsive, modern and scalable applications that can integrate with anything. The Developer eLearning course is split into 3 levels: Foundation, Advanced and Expert. It's recommended to work up from Foundation through to Advanced, which follow on from each other, building up on an example scenario, before you finally tackle the independent topics in the Expert level. Your team for this course will consist of myself, Lloyd, based in the UK, and James, who's based in the US. You can expect to hear a bit from both of us. The agenda for this introductory video looks like this. First, we'll have an overview of the Neptune DXP, focusing on the Open Edition. We'll have an overview of the main components of the platform, which will be utilized throughout the course. And after this, we'll understand the runtime of the Open Edition, before we then move on to look at Open UI 5, which is the JavaScript application framework being utilized by the platform. Once we've got an understanding of these basics, we'll have a look at the scenario we will develop over the Foundation and Advanced levels of the course. We'll review each of the apps in the example, what functionalities they have, who they're designed to be used by, and which database tables they'll interact with. Finally, I'll provide lots of useful information and resources that can help you along your journey of developing with the Neptune DX platform. So, let's get stuck in. The Neptune DXP is a landscape-agnostic rapid application development platform. This is achieved through 2 distinct modules. There is an SAP Edition module, which is the only low-code platform certified to sit directly inside the NetWeaver stack. And to complement this, there is the Open Edition. This module shares a lot of similarities with the SAP Edition, but it excels when it comes to integration. When utilized together, you have the full power of the DXP solution, and the best of both modules can be combined. Let's focus in on the Open Edition, as it is the module we'll be using for this course. And we'll have a look at the main components, or tools, which are available here. We have the Neptune Launchpad, the App Designer, the API Designer, the Workflow Engine, and Application Building Blocks. The Launchpad is a shell that hosts apps and provides them with services such as navigation, personalization, and embedded support. A Launchpad serves as a single entry point from mobile to desktop, displaying tiles which can show live data, as well as representing a business application that a user can open. The Launchpad is role-based, only displaying tiles according to the user's role. The Launchpad is actually a Neptune application in itself, so it's regularly updated with new features and functionalities. The Launchpad can host apps built using the Open Edition module, but it can also host apps built in the SAP Edition module. Alongside this, you can host HTML5 web apps, React apps, and even SAP Web Dyna Pro apps, all running seamlessly alongside each other. From a user's perspective, it's unlikely they'll even know which one they're using. Next, the App Designer. This tool empowers developers to create HTML5-based apps utilizing over 200 OpenUI5 framework components. These range from basic elements to complex UI patterns that can be used out of the box or extended to meet any requirement. It's simple to use, and it's easy for developers who are familiar with JavaScript and common web standards, enabling fast API integration with no-code data binding. The App Designer supports language translation, both manually and automatically using Google Translate, so your apps can be automatically multilingual. There's built-in tooling to see the app API architecture. You can utilize application building blocks to speed up development by joining together modular groups of elements, and versioning is built right into the tool too. The API Designer in the Open Edition provides a graphical user interface for creation and configuration of reusable API definitions. API operations can be created manually or by importing a file from another Open Edition or a Swagger 2.0 file. Alongside this, there is automatic generation of APIs for tables within the platform. The workflow engine consists of a number of tools designed to enable you to design, build, run, and manage workflows, from simple approvals to entire end-to-end processes that span across different organizations and applications. It's a tool designed to facilitate and automate processes that require tasks to be performed by people. Each step of a transaction can be easily monitored, and processes are completed from beginning to end. The script editor is a tool to create server-side scripts that run in their own separate process on the server. You can use APIs, tables, global scripts, and npm modules. Scripts are used to extend your instance beyond standard configurations. With a script, you may automate processes, add functionality, integrate your instance with outside applications, and more. Next, we have application building blocks. These are modular and reusable development components that range in size from small code snippets and connectors to larger groups of user interface components to entire application templates. Neptune provides a growing library of these building blocks, which can be downloaded for free within the platform inside the store. Now let's have a look at the runtime. And by runtime, I mean the elements that form the environment that run the product. First, it's important to note that the entire platform is a Node.js runtime. Node.js is an open source, cross-platform, back-end JavaScript runtime environment. Because of this, the platform can benefit from npm packages. npm is an online repository for open source Node.js projects and libraries. Having this in place makes it really easy to extend the functionality of the Open Edition platform with the choice of over 1 million different packages, for managing connections to legacy databases to handling authentication tokens. Within this runtime, you have the choice of 4 different supported databases. By default, the platform comes with an embedded SQLite database, which can be used straight away for database tables. The platform also uses this database for its own configuration tables. Alternatively, you can easily swap to a PostgreSQL, Microsoft SQL Server, or SAP HANA database. All these databases can utilize the power of typeorm. An ORM, or a object relational mapping, is a technique that lets you query and manipulate data from a database using an object-oriented paradigm. This just means that you can use typeorm statements instead of traditional SQL statements to interact with the database layer. Now we know about the foundation of the Open Edition, we can contextualize this alongside the SAP Edition module to see how it differs. Here you can see the SAP Edition utilizes the ABAP Runtime ICF node. Each module has its own hosting methods too. The SAP Edition is embedded within the SAP system, so runs within the NetWeaver stack, whilst the Open Edition can be hosted anywhere, on Google Cloud Platform to AWS or Azure, or even on-premise alongside SAP, and it's easy to deploy as a Docker container that can be orchestrated with Cloud Foundry. You can even run the Open Edition on a Raspberry Pi. Even though both modules utilize these different foundations, they both share a number of similar tools. Both modules have the Neptune Launchpad available. Both modules also have the Application Designer. The Open Edition has the API Designer, whilst the SAP Edition has the API Factory, which makes it possible to automate the REST API generation of SAP artifacts. The Open Edition has the script editor and the workflow engine, whilst both modules can benefit from the application building blocks. Now let's understand the OpenUI5 framework. OpenUI5 is used as the foundation for all the UI components and their functionalities. For example, here we can see the name of the component, sap.m.datePicker, which in the application designer will be named oDatePicker by default. On the page, this component is an input field that, when clicked or tapped on, will open a calendar that allows the user to select a date. We can build on this example by adding a shell, app, and page as parent components to the date picker, and now we see the date picker inside of an app. This shell, app, page structure is the most common foundation for apps within the app designer. And this brings us on to learning about aggregations. This is a relationship between two UI elements, a parent-child relationship. So, the shell, app, page structure represents an aggregation, where you can put as many child components within the page as you want. There are aggregations that don't work and will cause errors. For example, putting a slider component directly within a list will cause an error stating that a slider is not a valid aggregation for a list. However, a list can contain a number of children, such as a standard list item, and this won't cause any problems. Let's have a look at a few more examples of these UI5 components and their aggregations. Here we have a icon tab bar with 3 icon tab filters, one of which contains a text component. In this example, we have a menu button which contains a menu component as a child, and then within that there are 5 menu item children, even with 2 of them as subchildren to a parent menu item. This produces this menu button, which reflects the same structure. Finally, here is an example of a table, which is built using a sap.m.table as a parent, with a sap.m.column components as children, alongside a column list item, which contains 5 text components. This structure might be hard to remember, but that isn't a problem, as lots of these patterns are available as samples or can even be generated automatically using wizards, such as with this table. Next, let's learn about events. Lots of the components within the UI5 library have events. For example, a button component has a press event, and within the event you can write any JavaScript functionality that you want. That will be run every time the button is pressed. In this example, the button sends the app to the next page, sets a list's visibility property to true, and then shows a message on the screen. A second example is with a search field component, which has a live change event, and this event will be triggered every time a change is made in the field, such as a key being pressed. In this event, I've implemented a search on a list, so each key press updates the list with the search results based on what is typed. You can always click on the properties of the components to view information about them. So here you can see a description of each event and when it's triggered. Finally, let's learn about bindings. Binding is the ability to link data to specific parts of the UI components. So, for example, we have a list with an object list item child component. We can send an array of objects to the list's underlying data model, and then within the object list item we can bind properties. So here we have bound the intro and title properties to the name and customer number keys of our data set. This results in a list that automatically generates the same number of rows as there are objects in our array, with each row showing the values based on the keys that we've bound to. Having these bindings set up means your components will always reflect the data automatically. So here, only 2 objects are returned instead, and you can see the list reflects only these 2 rows. Now, let's look at the scenario. By the end of the advanced level course, this is what we will have built: a set of 5 different apps that all run on one Neptune launchpad. We will build once, and straight away all the apps will be ready for desktop, tablet, and mobile form factors. Let's break down the scenario using a model, view, controller diagram. Our model, which is our database, remember we can utilize the built-in SQLite database that comes with the Open Edition, will consist of 2 separate tables for equipment and inspections. Our view will be the 5 apps we will develop. App 1 for adding equipment, App 2 for viewing and editing equipment, App 3 is the inspection portal, App 4 is the workflow inbox, and App 5 will show some analytics. And then we have our controllers, the personas who will be interacting with the apps. Here we have 2, an administrator or manager alongside 1 or more field workers. Each of these 2 personas will have different roles which grants them access to their respective apps. Let's look at the functionalities of each app along with the persona and database it interacts with. First off, we have the Add Equipment app, which allows the admin to create and save new equipment to the equipment table. Next, App 2 allows the admin or manager to view the equipment in the database and edit the details of the equipment. The other main functionality is the ability to assign a piece of equipment to a field worker, who will then be tasked with inspecting it. To do this, the app will query the users table to find a list of all the field workers and to present it inside the app. This list is then used to assign a field worker to a piece of equipment, and an entry is created in the inspections table. App 3 is the inspection portal, which is designed to be used by the field workers. Here, they can view any inspections assigned to them. They can complete the details of the inspection by inputting comments, scanning a barcode, uploading a picture, and signing off on the inspection before submitting it for approval. The submission triggers a workflow process, which generates a workflow item that is visible within the workflow inbox. App 4 is this workflow inbox. It's built to display the submitted inspections from App 3 to the admin or manager, who can see the details of the inspection and can choose to approve or reject the submitted inspection. The workflow process looks like this. The field worker uses the inspection portal to submit any complete inspections to the workflow inbox. The admin can view the inbox and can choose to either approve an inspection, which marks the inspection as complete and updates the checkup date to the current date, or if the inspection is rejected, it will be marked as such and a new empty copy of the inspection will be generated and assigned back to the field worker, who will then be able to see it as assigned within the inspection portal, ready for them to complete the inspection again. Finally, App 5 will allow you to visualize some key data using the built-in chart library, HighCharts. To round off this introduction to the course, let's have a look at the helpful resources at your disposal. First off, the Neptune community is your one-stop shop for up-to-date blogs, news, and posts by other Neptune developers, who all help each other out finding solutions to interesting challenges. There is a lot to explore and learn from here. Complementary to this is an extensive documentation library for both modules, covering all the tools and processes within the platform, with screenshots and examples. This documentation is constantly being updated and improved as the product evolves. There is the Neptune YouTube channel too, which is home to a number of webinars, announcements, interviews, application building block demos, and how-to videos, just to name a few. It's worth a look around here to see what you can find. The Neptune account portal is our own custom-built solution running on the Open Edition module that enables our customers, partners, and developers with access to lots of resources, from case studies to technical guides, and tools to manage their Neptune world, from the DXP cloud hosting solution to the mobile build service. Within the account portal, you can also find the product download tool, where you can grab the latest version of the platform along with the installation guide, which will help you get up and running. Alongside all of this are resources provided by SAP. Documentation and samples around the OpenUI 5 framework can be very useful to explore to help further understand when and how to utilize all the various components. It's also worth checking out the Fiori Design Guidelines resources, as this can provide a lot of information about the best practices for utilizing the framework. Finally, I've included a video progress tracker within the course videos, which marks all the key milestones along the way so you can have a better understanding of what you've done and what's coming next in each video. Also, I've added diagrams where appropriate to further illustrate relationships and explain concepts. And so, with that all said, the last thing to say is enjoy the course and welcome to the world of Neptune software and the digital experience platform.